Hiding from the Zombies Until Dawn, a Dimenhydrinate Trip Report by TC Demo, uploaded to arrowwood.org December 26, 2001. The following is a brief recollection of possibly the most frightening experience of my life. I experienced the kind of irrational fear that I did when I was 4 or 5 years old. I remembered that I had swallowed 21 Dimenhydrinate pills, and that none of what I saw could possibly be real or harm me. But it made no difference to the fear and anxiety I was experiencing. Upon the realization that there was no way I could stop any of what was taking place before me, I slipped deeper into a state of shock and horror. I spent most of my trip with my back against the wall, convulsing in fear. It all started out quite innocently. I downed 21 pills with 1 gulp of milk and waited for the effects to come on. I felt the typical heaviness and relaxation flow over me in waves. But then I realized that something was quite wrong. Everything I was seeing was some kind of spider. Little clear spiders were scurrying all over everything I looked at. In the darker areas, under my desk, bed, etc., they were huge, more detailed spiders that were coming right after me, but luckily dissolved when they came into the light. Then they started crawling on me and biting me. I could even see and feel their bites. It made no sense to me. I'd never experienced anything like this on a drug before, and my sense of confidence and control simply vanished. I grabbed them and squished them, and my hands felt slimy, but there was nothing there. It was like they were actually half real, somehow bridging the gap from mind to reality. Although anyone could easily see that there were nothing more than convincing hallucinations, I wasn't convinced, and there was enough to water the seeds of uncertainty and fear within me. I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and there was a body slumped outside my window. It didn't move or shake or wiggle like the spiders, and it didn't just appear there. It was there at my first glance out the window and remained motionless and unchanging the entire time. I was totally immersed. My skin felt as though I was deep underwater, with constant pressure everywhere. I couldn't go back to my room because of the fear of the biting spiders, so I went to the living room and sat down at the computer. Kept hearing snickering and voices calling my name from behind me, and when I turned around, there was a giant purple, white-spotted mushroom sitting positioned on my couch, quivering and shaking. It wouldn't go away. I looked away and looked back, and it was still there. I knew it couldn't be real, but it didn't seem to act the way hallucinations normally do. Then it suddenly absorbed itself into one of the cushions, and it took on the same purple white-spotted appearance and began shaking. I could only gasp. Soon everything was shaking and wobbling. The love seat right beside me started wobbling and morphing into ridiculous shapes. A lampshade in the corner bent down and did a full circle, then sprung back. I have no explanation of why I thought this was so horrifying, except that I had no ground to stand on. No words of wisdom to fall back on came to mind. I was completely alone, and everything seemed to actually be becoming real, manifesting out of my hallucination somehow. Everything I saw felt wrong and evil, and somehow intent on harming me. A rocking chair in the corner began violently rocking and formed a face on it, and it was laughing at me. And then they were all laughing. As they laughed, they would point at me and look at each other. The face came right up to me from out of the rocking chair and passed through me as it laughed. I was utterly horrified and sweating profusely. Then I caught a glance of the large window and saw people reflected who weren't in the room. It seemed as if they were in a different room altogether, in a room that was an exact mirror of the one I was in. They saw me see them, and they came zombie-eyed over to the window and banged on the glass with their hands. They were pale white and sickly looking, the typical undead stereotype, and they were passing through the glass right onto my couch. My only savior seemed to be the light. I was too afraid to go over to the other side of the room and turn on the other lights, or even leave the room and wander through the darkness of my house for that matter. I was squatted and nauseated, with the fear of the zombie things coming towards me, but as they came into the light, they became transparent and dissolved into nothing. I was there until the next day. I was still very much intoxicated as dawn broke, but the symbolism of it, and my extreme tiredness somehow gave me the courage to walk to my room and sleep. If there's a lesson I learned, it would be to respect fear for what it is. I tried everything I could to make the experience positive, or at least neutral. When all else failed, I had to wait for sunrise and believe it would somehow release me from my fear, which fortunately It did.